Went bankrupt, got cheated, got rejected 300 times. The unknown story of Walt Disney. A world without Disney is hard to imagine, isn't it? Would you like to live in a world where you didn't see Disney's beloved characters and songs, where storytelling didn't capture your imagination, and where the theme parks failed to bring out your inner child? You won't, right? Among the most celebrated artists of all time is Walt Disney. Whether he is creating groundbreaking animations or creating sensational theme parks, his vision continues to inspire generations. If you dig a little deeper into Disney's background, you'll find that his success was paved with an unhappy childhood and countless business failures and setbacks. Disney was born on the 5th of December 1901. Originally from Chicago, he grew up in Missouri along with his 5 siblings. His father, Elias, wasn't exactly the kind of father one would imagine. He was a violent, abusive father and left none of his children unabused. Walt dropped out of school at 16 and went to join the Army. Having not reached the age of 17, the Army rejected him at first. His desperate and never giving up attitude did not permit him to stop, so he falsified his birth certificate and applied once again to join the Red Cross Army. This time, the Army finally accepted Walt and appointed him as driver for the ambulance in France during World War I. At the age of 18, Walt Disney joined a commercial art studio as a commercial artist. The money he earned allowed him to afford fashionable clothes, fancy meals, and movie tickets. Everything was going well. Afterward, the Great Depression struck the nation. In 1921, the studio's revenue decreased and Walt Disney lost his job. The reason being, lack of imagination. Clearly, he was upset. In just a short time, his life had been turned upside down. Despite such difficulty, Walt had unshakable confidence and optimism. Walt, along with his friend Ub, started his very first company, iWorks Disney Commercial Artists. Unfortunately, the company failed and had to close within a month. His father then wanted Walt to work in his jelly factory, but he preferred being an artist. Walt was at a crossroads in his career. He was under severe pressure. Was Walt supposed to do what others desired from him, or follow his own wishes? Where did Walt go? He redirected his energy into starting his second company, Laugh-O-Grams. For some time, Laugh-O-Grams thrived. In his small town, Walt soon became a mini celebrity. A local theater contracted him for 6 animated shows. For a few months, he and his team worked without being paid. A significant amount of money had to be borrowed to pay for the office and equipment for the project. Suddenly, fate intervened. Towards the end of the animation, the distributors decided to back out. Walt suffered a devastating loss. The amount of his debt grew. He was trapped in a rat hole. How did Walt react to the situation? He came up with a brilliant, radical idea, inserting a video of a real person within an animation. This is how Alice's Wonderland came into being. To film the video of Alice, Walt had to borrow money again. While he worked on Alice, he was confined to his office as he couldn't afford a home, bathed at train stations, and lived off cans of beans. Unfortunately, he couldn't find a new distributor in time, and his company went bankrupt. He closed the company and moved to Los Angeles with a heavy heart. But his dream of publishing the Alice cartoon remained. Although Walt was depressed, he was determined to succeed. He kept knocking on doors of opportunity. One day, Walt received a phone call from Mrs. Winkler, who had just seen the Alice cartoon and was impressed with the work, and she offered a $1,500 contract to edit 6 Alice episodes. Finally, Walt's life began to turn around. It seemed so, at least to him. Walt established another company called Disney Brothers, and his brother Roy joined him as a co-founder. The association with Winkler Studio flourished. The money flowed. Walt's team developed another cartoon character called Oswald the Rabbit. Mintz, director at Winkler Studio, loved the new cartoon. It was a happier time. Later, Walt found out that Mintz had illegally hired most of his employees. Mintz had planned to make new episodes without Walt's help, using Disney's team. Alice and Oswald were also taken away from Walt. A terrible shock overtook him. What was Walt's reaction? He channeled his energies, drafted ideas with his small team, and came up with the character Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse was originally called Mortimer Mouse by Disney, but his wife Lillian thought it was too high-sounding and decided to call it Mickey Mouse instead. Wouldn't we all agree with Lillian on this? However, Walt failed to find a distributor for several Mickey Mouse episodes. Despite the difficulty, he did not give up. In order to gain a foothold, he realized he needed to offer something better than his competitors. He came up with the idea of adding sound to the cartoon. At the time, it was an advanced technology and very expensive. The animation industry had not yet experimented with it. During those days, the viewers were not exposed to animated action synchronized with music. The project would be groundbreaking. Walt began rigorous work on sound integration and decided to become the voice of Mickey himself. The hit was massive. In 1928, Mickey became the first ever cartoon with sound in American theaters. Walt gradually became a Hollywood star. The company grew rapidly. In 1931, Walt faced personal and professional turmoil. Despite his wife Lillian's desire to conceive, she miscarried. That made him very upset. He couldn't speak to anyone. He was going through a nervous breakdown. In terms of business, he was losing a lot of money with the Silly Symphonies series. Rival studios took his most trusted and reliable employees. Things were bad. How did he act this time? He intensified his efforts. As time went on, the situation improved. Walt's efforts were quickly appreciated by other film studios, and collaborative projects ensued. Disney and his team founded Disney Studios and began making a variety of sound cartoons. One evening, Disney proposed that all stories be made into an animated feature film. Roy feared that the studio would go out of business if this happened. Walt, however, did not budge. This was the start of the movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It turned out to be a massive hit. But when Walt Disney was approaching 50 in 1948, he found himself in a crisis again. As Pinocchio, Fantasyland, and Bambi were released during World War II, the studio lost a lot of money on them. Company finances were uncertain. By this time, Walt had become demoralized by all these issues. Due to the popularity of shows like The Mickey Mouse Club and Davy Crockett, Walt Disney managed to come out of the crisis, as well as gather enough capital for his biggest venture yet, Disneyland. On July 17, 1955, Walt Disney opened Disneyland in Anaheim, California, and wrote the beginning of a new chapter. This was given the name The Happiest Place on Earth. He had created a version of his fantasy that he always dreamt about as a boy. Within a few years of Disneyland's 1955 opening, Disney began plans for a new theme park. He started construction on a second park, Walt Disney World, near Orlando, Florida. Unfortunately, he was unable to fully live his dream, as he died from lung cancer at the age of 65 in 1966. His brother Roy carried on Disney's plans for finishing the Florida theme park, which opened in 1971. The park would never have existed had Disney not continued to work after 300 rejections from financiers to make this incredible dream a reality. Disney's persistence and tenacity turned his latest endeavor around. The theme park became a universal success, eradicating his financial debts, and remains today a vital part of his corporate empire. Walt Disney was an Oscar legend. His entire career earned him 22 Academy Awards, a record that has not been broken yet. Disney showed that every crisis, trauma, and horrible event can be a stepping stone to a better tomorrow. The feeling of unhappiness in life can be beneficial and can signal a need to change direction. So that was the story of Walt Disney, who managed to survive all of life's challenges. Give us a like if you enjoyed our video. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you remain up to date with our future videos. Thank you.